Bomberman. For those of you who don't know what Bomberman is, where do you live? The Bomberman series is probably best known for its multiplayer mayhem and fun, dropping into a maze-like stage and blowing the crap out of your friends. The games are fun and fairly easy to learn how to play, so they make for really fun party games. There have been many Bomberman games over the years, and I mean many. Just name a console and it probably has a Bomberman game for it. Possibly 3. But my first introduction to Bomberman was actually pretty different from the usual games, because my first introduction was the Bomberman 64 games. Bomberman 64 and Bomberman 64: The Second Attack. These Bomberman games focused more on a single-player campaign than multiplayer. And the single-player wasn't just the multiplayer but against computers, no. They were full campaigns with stories, where you explore large 3D levels, fight enemies, and defeat bosses. There's still a multiplayer mode in each game, but the games seem to focus so much on converting Bomberman to a one-player experience that the multiplayer modes almost feel a bit tacked on. It's not bad, it's still Bomberman, but the main draw is definitely the single player, which is why I'll pretty much just be talking about that in this review. But I guess I'll talk about the multiplayer modes real quick. They're fun. You can use custom parts that you collect in the single player modes to make your Bombermans look really cool, or sometimes not very cool. And the games are really fast-paced and completely nuts, always filling you with a feeling of dread and exhilaration. I will say though that in the second 64 game, the computer characters are really annoying. When they die and their ghosts take you over, you can't seem to shake them out as easily as you can in the first game, and it often just leads to instant death. I don't know if we're doing something wrong, but it's really annoying. It's a real shame too, because I actually like the gameplay in this one a bit better, if not for this one thing. But yeah, it's good multiplayer. And that's all I really have to say about the multiplayer though. It's Bomberman. What I'm really here to talk about is the story mode. We'll start off first with Bomberman 64. The epic story of this game opens with 4 Power Ranger guys sucking the life out of an alien planet using the power of the Omnicube, a super weapon capable of destroying worlds. And the leader of these Power Rangers, Altair, sets his sights to their next target. Cue a giant space station floating down from the sky and shooting up the place. Goodbye, Red. Thankfully, Bomberman was just going for a hike that day, and upon seeing the devastation below him, he realizes what must be done. Listening to this stranger tell him what must be done. This guy, this flying cyborg man, is named Sirius, and he says that he actually has a bone to pick with the evil Altair, so he aids me on my quest, and the game starts. With a crazy setup like that, I'm looking forward to the rest of this plot. Plot twists left and right, and yeah, it's pretty basic. On with the review. The graphics look basic. Even for when this game came out, they were just okay. It doesn't look bad, it's just kind of obvious that this game came out during the early days of 3D. Also, the game's frame rate slows down a lot. Constantly the frame rate is slowing down, even when there's not that much going on the screen. But I guess the game is colorful enough, so, I don't know, it's not ugly to look at. And the music isn't terrible either, so, I don't know, overall the presentation is decent. Gameplay-wise, it's I guess you could call this a puzzle platformer, with more of an emphasis on puzzles than platforming, since you can't technically even jump, at least not in the traditional sense. Half of the levels are regular exploration-style levels, and the other half are boss fights. The control and gameplay aren't much different than usual. You place bombs on the ground to blow things up, you can kick bombs, you can throw bombs, you can pick bombs up, pump bombs up to make them more powerful, and don't worry if this all sounds a bit confusing to you, because the game makes sure to spell it out for you with these amazing instructions. Bomb go boom. Oh, I get it! Bomb go boom! Okay, cool, thanks instructions! Most of the levels are just about finding your way through the level without dying, and making it to the end. But the puzzle solving comes in with something that the game refers to as bomb jumping. Placing bombs on the ground and bouncing off of them to get from platform to platform. It's actually a good idea, and at times it actually works pretty well. But a lot of the time, it just kind of feels wrong. Here, let me show you an example. Right here. Who would ever think to do this crazy crap in order to bomb jump up here? This part took me forever forever to figure out, and even longer to actually pull off. And this isn't some sort of weird cheat. No, this is the only way to get up there. And this isn't even just for some secret like a custom part for multiplayer. It's to get any of the collectibles in the entire level, which you actually need to collect in order to get the good ending. And on top of all that, this is the very first level. Here's another puzzle in the first level. This one took me nearly an hour just to get through. Why the hell is this so hard? I mean, it's really cryptic, and the real problem is that even when you do figure out what you're supposed to do, it's still hard as hell. The problem with this whole mechanic, to be honest, is just that it's too finicky. It's honestly a good mechanic in theory, but there's just too many times where I set up all my bombs and then I jump onto them only to get knocked unconscious or even die. Sometimes you think that you have it figured out, but then after trying and failing for 10 minutes, you obviously assume that you were wrong and you have to try something else. I mean, there's no way the actual solution to this puzzle would be this finicky and hard. But no, oftentimes it is. It just is. By the end of the game, I did have a better understanding of how bomb jumping worked, but it still never stops being pretty annoying and tedious. But hey, I don't need to stress and worry about collecting everything, right? I mean, I can just avoid using bomb ladders and bomb jumping and just head straight for the end of levels, right? Wrong. Because the game on its own is easy enough, and actually it can be pretty fun. But like I mentioned before, this game has multiple endings. And in order to get the good ending, you have to collect every single golden card hidden in the levels. This means killing all of the enemies, sometimes multiple times, scouring the levels, doing more bomb jumping, and beating the levels under a time limit. What you have to accomplish and figure out in order to get a good ending is not worth it. I mean, it's just not. But I'm still gonna try. I was never actually able to beat this game as a kid, and I really don't want to give up like I had to with Bart vs. the Space Mutants. I am getting the good ending. Each of the 4 islands consists of 4 levels, and then even after that's done, you still have more levels to do after that. So it's actually a fairly long game. And as if collecting all of the gold cards in these levels wasn't already hard enough, which it is. There's some pretty damn annoying levels. Slippery ice, falling boulders, avalanches, my own bomb explosions, even more of the latter. Yeah, it's hard. But as if not hard enough, getting the gold cards in boss fights is even harder. There's 5 in each level, and in boss fights, 3 of them are collected by performing specific actions during the fight, like burning specific body parts of the monster that you're fighting. One of the cards is given to you for merely beating the boss, and the 5th card is given to you by beating the boss within a time limit. But the thing is, you have to collect all 5 of them in one go, or else it doesn't count. So have fun, because a few of these boss fights make that pretty damn hard, like this fish. Don't get me wrong, this fish is actually the easiest boss in the entire game on its own. But the actions that you have to perform to get the 3 cards are dependent on the attacks that the boss decides to use on you, which are random. So a large part of this fight is just waiting for the boss to do the right moves in the right order. Oh, and without running out of time or accidentally killing the boss too early because he's too damn easy. Getting all these cards on this fish boss took me well over an hour. Screw this boss. But after getting past that, and through the 5th set of levels, which are actually pretty damn hard, I made it to the final boss and kicked his butt. The regular ending was pretty underwhelming, to be honest. One of those 4 Power Rangers, Regulus, shows up and saves Altair, telling me that you pay. And then after they run away, Sirius comes over and tells me that he's disappointed in me and that he'll probably never see me again. Goodbye. Wow. Okay. See ya, dude. It was nice working with you, I guess. But after collecting every single one of the gold cards, every single one, the ending changes. Regulus comes in and starts saving Altair like usual, but suddenly Sirius flies in and stops him. He kills Altair and steals the Omni Cube for himself. Turns out that he was the bad guy all along. Well, I mean, Altair was also a bad guy. Pretty much everyone's bad except Bomberman, basically. And now I have to play through 2 more levels and 2 more boss fights before getting the true ending. These last 2 levels are pretty hard, with a heavy emphasis on bomb jumping. Some of them over bottomless pits. Great. But I will say that although these levels are pretty brutal, the annoyance was alleviated by a sudden realization that I had. I don't have to worry about collecting all of the gold cards or beating the levels within a time limit. I've already unlocked the final levels and the good ending, so these golden cards are optional. So screw you, gold cards. I don't need you anymore. Just get me to the end of this damn level. And so, after a psychedelic nightmare-fueled sub-boss, I'm fighting Sirius, a fairly easy final battle that ends up with Regulus showing up to help me. He destroys the Omnicube. Pretty easy to do that, huh? And then he joins me in my fight, and proceeds to really suck at fighting. I mean, I honestly wish he sucked this much when I fought him. But to be fair, he does help. Whenever he gets hit by Sirius, he spits out hearts. So it's actually pretty useful. It's free health. And in a matter of minutes, Sirius is dead as heck. The fortress explodes and Regulus saves Bomberman for some reason. And yep, that's pretty much it. There's the game. Bomberman 64. Overall, I'd say don't go for the good ending. That's what I'll say. Do not go for the good ending and collecting all the gold cards. Like, do not do that. You'll probably just get very, very frustrated. But anyways, I guess it's time to move on to the sequel. Bomberman 64, The Second Attack. From the very beginning of the game, it seems pretty obvious that the plot will have little to nothing to do with the original. It starts out with a text scroll that kinda made me question whether or not this was even a Bomberman game. In the dim past, the universe as we know it was created by an angel. The angel created the stars, the planets, the sky, the sea, and all life in the universe. But the angel was torn apart in two halves, a goddess and a demon. The demon brought darkness to the universe, and the goddess gathered warriors to fight against the darkness. The goddess and her warriors used 7 magical stones to imprison the demon and bring everlasting peace to the universe. Or so they believe. After that, the actual plot starts. Bomberman suddenly has a spaceship. I guess it was a gift from Red Bomber for retroactively saving his life. When suddenly Bomberman, in all of his great wisdom, flies straight into a black hole. And instead of, I don't know, steering away from it, he panics. Oh, and he has a giant pink egg for some reason. I guess he found it at some point. He's then found and captured by a group called the BHB Army and locked up in a prison cell. Shortly after, the egg hatches into the lovable, half Kirby, half Pikachu sidekick, Pommy. Oh, Pommy's just the best. Okay, he or she isn't that annoying, but I just don't really get why Pommy is a thing. It's a little sidekick that follows you around and attacks enemies for you. A second player can control him, so I don't know, I guess this is kind of like a Sonic and Tails kind of thing. His only other purpose is to talk during the cutscenes, since Bomberman is a silent protagonist.
Pommy's cheering helped a lot, didn't it? Pommy's so afraid. What if Pommy slips and drops? Bomberman wouldn't understand. Bomberman's not delicate like Pommy.
Yep, that right there is Pommy in a nutshell. Well, to be fair, Pommy does have some redeeming aspects from a gameplay standpoint. Giving a second player something to do during the one player is cool, and as you play the game, you'll constantly find food items that don't really seem to do anything. They don't give you health or money or points or anything like that. What they're actually for is for leveling up Pommy. As you collect different types of food, Pommymon will digivolve, and what he digivolves into depends on what kind of food you give him: candy, meat, or vegetables. Pommy has 4 different levels of evolution, and can evolve into a total of 10 final level 4 Pommymons. I actually followed a chart that I found online, and I aimed to get Shadow Pommy. Wasn't really sure what their abilities were or anything, he just kinda looked cool. So that was a fun diversion. Pommy is actually a pretty fun gameplay mechanic. At first it seems kinda weird and random, but it's good, it's fun. Oh, but did you think I was done talking about the plot? Because God knows I wasn't. There is so much more to tell. I'm going to try and explain the plot as fast as I can, so spoiler alert if you're somebody who's interested in playing this game and cares deeply about the plot. But it's really so nonsensical and complicated that I doubt you really care that much. Bomberman escapes his cell and finds out that he has something called a Firestone, one of the 7 magical stones used to imprison the evil demon Sturtoth long ago. The stones are each guarded by one of the Elemental Knights, who are now named the Astral Knights, and the Astral Knight Bulzeeb, yeah, he doesn't look familiar at all. The Astral Knights are currently under the magical influence of the leader of the BHB army, Rukafelt, who he himself is being possessed by the demon Skurtazatzatatata. After defeating the first Astral Knight, you meet the space pirate Lilith, who it turns out is being possessed herself by the goddess who sealed Skurtoth away in the first place, Mikhail. In order to stop this evil being from being resurrected, but more importantly to escape this black hole, Bomberman must defeat all of the knights, collect the stones, and use them to destroy the 7 gravity generators which are currently creating this black hole. Wow. That was a lot to take in. This is a sequel to the last game, right? Because the most complex that game's plot ever got was just wondering how Red Bomber survived that explosion. I'm sorry, I'm just really hung up on that for some reason. I mean, I guess he just had an extra heart or something. I mean, to be honest, as pointlessly complex as it is, I actually do appreciate the plot. It's formulaic at times, but there were a few twists here and there, and I mean, I don't know, I enjoyed the interactions with the different characters. The Astral Knights are kind of funny, it was entertaining. Okay, look, it's not Shakespeare, but it's never intrusive enough that it takes away from the gameplay. And I find Bomberman to be a pretty adorable and funny character, so I definitely don't mind that this game gave him way more of a personality over the last one. Speaking of which, Bomberman looks a lot better this time around. He displays a variety of different emotions and animations, and overall he just looks nicer. Actually, the entire game overall looks a lot better than the last one. There's more detail, better models, and it feels a lot darker, a lot dirtier, which I actually think works pretty well. Unlike the last game, this one stays mostly indoors, and they did away with the camera control, so now your camera is at a fixed angle. Your standard bombs also explode in a cross pattern, which I actually prefer. It's unlike the last game where they changed it to a circular explosion. You have an actual health count, and your stats and current power-ups are shown at the top of the screen. Overall, this game just looks better in every way possible. But gameplay-wise, actually, I also think it's a lot better in that regard as well. This game is a lot more fun than the other one. Even though the camera is fixed and all that, it still somehow feels like I've explored a bigger variety of locations this time around. This game also has more of a focus on puzzle solving than platforming, which is probably for the best. And oh my god, thank you, they really dialed down the bomb jumping. In fact, there's barely any bomb jumping in the game. It is very rare. I don't even think there's a single spot in the entire game where you need to bomb hop. It's only ever used to find secrets. And even then, it's much easier to do than it was in the last game. It feels a little less glitchy and weird this time around. And there was never a spot in the game where I was stuck for a really long time trying to figure it out. One thing that I can definitely respect is developers learning from their mistakes and changing things to fix problems. This seems very evident here because my biggest complaint about the first game, the main gameplay mechanic, bomb jumping, are used so much less. Bravo, gentlemen, bravo. I guess I could compare the first Bomberman 64 game to a 3D exploration game, while this one feels more like a Zelda game. So I mentioned power-ups before. These would be running shoes, which make you go faster, the remote control power-up, and also you have to collect power-ups in order to kick and throw your bombs. This is a little disappointing at first, since you actually didn't need to do this in the last game, but it is more like regular Bomberman formula, and every level in this game has these power-ups, so it's not like you're gonna get screwed over. It just gives you an incentive not to die and lose all of your lives. And also, you can find custom pieces just like in the last game. But unlike then, when all they did was give you costumes to wear in multiplayer, in this game there are 4 of them that are special. They're called the Guardian Armor, and when you collect them, your appearance will change in single player mode, and you'll have access to your power-ups permanently. You obviously have to find these hidden in the levels, but when you do find them, you will be very happy. In every level that you play, you have to beat a boss, one of the Astral Knights. When you beat them, you get their elemental stone, which gives you different bombs to use. You start out with fire, and then as you play the game, you get ice bombs, electric bombs, wind, earth, light, and shadow bombs. They all have different qualities about them. Some of them do more damage to certain enemies. Some have different shaped explosions than others. It gives combat a lot more variety over the last game. And of course, you have to use these elemental bombs to solve puzzles too. Using wind bombs to propel you across gaps, using ice bombs to freeze water and walk over it, charging electrical devices with electric bombs. It's clever and it's fun. It gives the game a feeling of progression that the last game just didn't really have. Now, it may seem that I'm praising this game a lot, and really I am. I mean, I enjoy the game overall, but that doesn't mean that there's not a few bad things that really annoy me. Like here. I used an ice bomb to freeze the water so that I could walk over it, but then when I walked onto it, I slipped through a crack and died. Pretty finicky feeling. Then there's this puzzle. You have to push all of these statues onto buttons. There's no real indication as far as I can tell as to where to push them. So I just trial and errored it until I finally got the right placement. And it was very slow. It was slow, tedious, and boring. Also this puzzle, which pretty much shares the exact same problem. It's also annoying whenever you get hit by certain enemies and they take away your power-ups. Oh my god, guys, get this! I finally had my epic confrontation with the Astral Knight Bulzeeb, who seems to have some sort of personal vendetta against me. And as it turns out, he's actually Regulus from the last game. I know, right? Total plot twist. I did not see that one coming. Well, after beating him, I'm off to the second last level, an amusement park-themed planet. God, I hate this friggin' level. It's just really slow to start. There's a bunch of going back and forth, and also there's just so many enemies. Solving puzzles with a T-Rex shooting fire down at me is not fun. And this is a pretty damn cryptic puzzle. You just have to keep entering and exiting this screen until this clock changes what time it is. Yeah, not a fun level. But after that, I'm off to the final level, the Warship Noah. A pretty fun level overall. Good one to end on. And it ends with 4 boss fights in a row. Wow, that's really something. So just like the last game, there's a good ending and there's a bad ending. But unlike the last game, I never actually got the bad ending. I actually really enjoy this game, so I spent my time in each level. I leveled up Pommy, I got all 7 of the elemental stones, and I even went the extra mile and collected every single one of the custom pieces. God knows I didn't do that in the last game. So when I reached the end of the game, I beat Rukafelth, who then expels the now resurrected form of the evil demon... You know what, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name anymore. I fight it in, honestly, the best boss fight in the entire game. This and the next boss fight are the only spots in the entire game where the camera rotates around you. It happened in multiple fights in the last game, and I kind of wish it happened more in this one, because a lot of the boss fights, although not bad, do feel a little small in scale when compared to this one. I mean, this is just a really fun boss fight. It's kind of ironic too, because since the control feels a lot better in this game, this 3D style boss battle actually works better in this game than it did in the last one. So I beat him, and Lilith, containing the goddess inside her, shows up. The goddess decides to fuse together with the demon since there's apparently no other way to stop him. But the demon keeps mentioning the void. Wait a minute. There's 2 cosmic beings, one good and one evil. They used to be one person, but then they split apart for some unexplained reason, and they just used the word void.
Void!
Oh god, no! It's turning into Sonic Shuffle! So they fuse together into the original being that created the universe. I enter the final fight of the game. It's actually pretty damn epic, and a pretty fun fight. And upon defeating the creator of everything, with bombs, I have saved the universe from being rebooted, or something along those lines. Everyone is brought back to life for some reason, the Astral Knights are all back to normal, and Bomberman and Pommy say their goodbyes. Bulzeeb goes back to his old name, and is surprisingly chummy with our heroes. I mean, he revealed earlier that he actually was never under Rukafelth's control. He was only pretending that he was because he wanted more power so that he could beat me. So, it's not like anything's changed. One minute he wants to kill me, then he wants to save me, then he wants to kill me, and then he wants to save me, and then he wants to save me again, and then he dies. Then he's back, and he's acting all chummy with me, and then he vows to defeat me again. Okay, dude, you have bipolar disorder. Start, I don't know, taking some medication for it. And with that, I have completed both games. So, was it worth it? Well, in the case of the first game, But in the case of the second one, yeah, it actually was. I actually really enjoyed it. Just to reiterate my opinion, I do not hate the first Bomberman 64 game. It is not a terrible game, but it does have flaws. Finicky controls and collecting all of those goddamn gold cards, it's just not fun to do that. The second game though? Well, I have a fair amount of nostalgia for it, to be fair, but even when taking my nostalgia goggles off, it's a solid game. It doesn't have very many parts in it that feel blatantly unfair. It keeps from being too cryptic most of the time. The game is long enough to be worth playing, but it doesn't drag on until it's stale. The control's been improved, and the different types of elemental bombs was a great idea. They add a lot to the gameplay. And graphically, it looks good for a Nintendo 64 game. I would totally recommend this game to anybody who enjoys retro games. Nintendo 64 specifically. I'm not sure if I would recommend the first game. I mean, it's not terrible, it's not worth actively avoiding. If you see it in a store for a couple of bucks and you're interested, then try it out. But with that, I think I'm about done. I'm happy that I could share 2 of these Nintendo 64 games that I played quite a bit when I was a kid. Although, with that said, there is one more. There's one more Bomberman game for the Nintendo 64 that actually came out between the release of these 2. It didn't have 64 in the title, and it had very different gameplay from these 2. But you know what? Yeah, I think I will give it its own video. So tune in next time when I review Bomberman Hero. Wait a minute. Bomberman talks during the credits. It basically fills in whatever he was saying during those cutscenes where he was originally just making expressions. It's a cool Easter egg, I guess, but why didn't they just have him talk like this throughout the entire game?